Hi, my name is Janelle Boyd. I'm the physical exercise specialist at CFB Shadow. And today we're going to talk about movement preparation. So why is movement preparation important? Why do I even need to do it, you ask? Well, basically you want to warm up the tissues. You want to work on your torso, your hip, shoulder stability. You want to prepare the body for movement using foundation movements. And you want to also decrease your risk of injury. So there's many different ways. So we're going to do a little bit of a workout or warm-up, you could say here today. We're going to go through the exercises. I'll explain the technique, and then we'll go and we'll do some exercising as well. So the first thing that we're going to do before we even start is going to be pelvic alignment or posture, okay? So basically when we're doing the first exercise that I'm going to go through, you want to make sure that your pelvis is in a neutral position. So I'm a natural anterior pelvic tilted, so I tend to have my back up. So basically I want it to come down. So if you put one hand just underneath your rib cage and one hand on your stomach and you kind of pull in and up, that will bring your pelvis into a neutral alignment, okay? Versus here or here, okay? So as if you had a pill and the pill is sitting around your hips. If your pelvis is too far up, the pill will spill out the front, and if it's too far in, it'll spill out the back. So you want to keep that neutral alignment the whole time, okay? So there is some equipment that you'll need, and we'll go through, and there's different modifications that you can use from equipment at home. So the first one that we're going to do, though, is the crook hip lift. And you have an option of using a band with this one. So here's a long band right here, or if you don't have a long stretchy band, there's many different things at home, like, you know, if you have a tie in your bathrobe or anything that works sort of like that. This is also an option. You don't have to use it. So onto the mat, we're going to lie down, and we're going to bring those hips up. We're going to be underneath our shoulder blades here, okay? Hips up, pelvic tilt, okay? That's super important. And for these exercises, we're actually going to do the bridges from our heels. Okay, so toes off the ground. And basically, we're going to bring one knee into our chest. Okay, so this is the start of the exercise. Now, the whole point of the exercise is when you go back down to the ground is to not shift or drop your hips, is to keep everything stable and even. All right, and you want to focus on breathing as well throughout the movement. So I always put my hands on my hips, just so I can determine if my hips are even or where my hips are. One's more further up than the other. And you're going to come down and push it through your heel, okay? And you're going to lift back up, and we're going to hold for 5 seconds. And we're going to do 8 reps on each side, okay? So now, if you wanted to add the band here, you can. When you're using a band, you have to make sure that you're not pushing your hips down, that you get up into that bridge. Because we don't want a bridge where there's only a couple of inches. We want the bridge to be up. We want it to be in a nice flat line, pelvic tilt. And if you're using a band, you would put it over your hips, okay? And then you would bring that knee in, and you would go forth like this. This just adds a little bit of resistance, but it is not required. So that is option. So we're going to do 8 each side, holding for 5 seconds. Okay, so coming up into that bridge. Okay, for starters, pelvic tilt, body's nice and straight. Okay, I'm going to have my hands on my hips. Bring that knee towards your chest. Hold for 5 seconds. And then we're going to come down. Okay, so you want to push through your heel, coming up, holding for 5 seconds. So speed rep number 1, keeping everything as even as you can, that knee in, coming down. Number 2, keep breathing. Really focus on keeping those hips nice and straight. Okay, this will be number 3. Here we go. Keep breathing. Keep your neck neutral. I'm just leaning to the side so that you can see me talking. Coming down again, up. And as you find yourself getting a little bit tighter, you'll notice that your hips may not be as stable. And also keep that toe off the ground. So we've done 4. 4 more to go. Up we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, even. We don't want it to rotate or shift. And we've got one more on this side. Hips up, last one. All right, perfect. Now we're going to switch around. And we're going to do the other side. I'm going to switch on the mat so that you can see my legs. All right, so you may have felt that in your hips, your leg, you may have felt it in your low back. So we're sort of activating all of those muscles. Single leg work. Okay, single leg work is really important, as sometimes if we have using both of our limbs at one time, one can overcompensate for the other, so we want to work both sides so that we can really work out any imbalances. Okay, so we're going to do the other side. So we want to come up into that plank first, or plank bridge, a reverse plank actually. All right, and get everything lined up again. Bring the other knee into our chest. Okay, we're going to go down. We're going to come back up, holding for 5 seconds. I don't want you to hold your breath when you're doing this. I want you to keep breathing. Coming back down. That was 1. Coming up to 2. Holding for 5 seconds. Now, the 5-second count is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more, and we're halfway. This is number 4. And again, if you want to add this, you can. Okay, coming up to 5. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 more. Again, with this, make sure that you're not pulling yourself down so far that you can't get your hip up. Okay, you want your knee up. All right, I think we have 2 more. So up. Again, if you want to keep your hands on your hips to know where your hips are. And then we've got 1 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent. So hopefully you can feel the hips, the glutes, the low back activated there. All right, so that was quick hip lift. We're going to do another similar one that works a little bit more with the low body, but it's the same sort of concept. So if you have a little band, like this, we're going to use it, okay? So supine knee to chest. Again, we're going to hold for 5 seconds, but we're only going to do 5 each side here. So same concept, pelvis rotated body, nice and straight, onto your heels, toes always up on the ground. So with this one, make sure that your band has no whips or tears. You can have a little band, anything sort of stretchy. And you're going to put it around your toes. Yeah, you want to make sure that it's on around where your shoelaces would be so that it doesn't go flying and hit someone or something. So same kind of concept, only this time we're going to go down to the bridge. Okay, get yourself realigned. Coming up, pelvic tilt, because you don't just want to kind of be out of place there. You want to have your hips under. Okay, nice pelvic tilt. And with this one, we're going to use the resistance of the band. Okay, so you can have your hands down over here. Again, and you're going to bring one leg up with the resistance, and you're going to hold for 5 seconds. So choose a band that has some resistance. Bring it back down. I'm going to switch sides. Okay, so I'm doing the other side now. Holding for 5 seconds. Bringing it back down. Okay. That's number 3. Number 4, making sure everything stays even, really pulling that up. 4, 5, keep breathing. Realign if you need to. I'm just going to realign. This is number 6. Number 7, heels are still on the ground, toes are up. Holding for 5 seconds. Number 8. Number 9, 1 more, and 10. Excellent. So you can do both of those or one of those. The quick hip lift more if you're doing spine workout. Supine knee to chest if you're doing more of a low body workout, but both work well. Okay, so the next one is a single leg deadlift. Okay? So with this one, I'm going to grab a cone, but you can use anything that you have around. We'll move this out of the way. you can use it. Now this band is excellent, and I'm going to use it because it allows your body to stay out straight. So quite often when we do this, sometimes we hold it, this band will make your body push itself up and out and away, okay? So with this one, before we get started, we want to work on hip hinge. All right, so this is a hip hinge movement, not from the back, all right? So starting with your hands on your hips, just hip hinging. Okay, back nice and straight. One more. So hinging from the hips, back nice and straight. Now I'm going to grab a dowel to see if there's any curve in your back. So you can bring one hand above, one hand below, small of your neck, small of your back. Keep the dowel touching your low back and your head at all times. And I want you to lean over. And I want you to see, is that bar still touching my back or is it coming on? Because that means I'm really rounding. Okay, because you want a hip hinge. So you can bend your knees, but you want the movement from your hips. Okay, so that's one of the most important things from here. So I'll put this back. All right. So putting this back on, we're going to do it in a couple of stages, and then we'll get to the full single leg deadlift. This is a very complex movement. Okay, so for starters, whatever foot the band's on, the foot that goes back, that's the hand that's going to go down and touch the cone. All right, so for starters, usually what I'll do is just kind of put your foot back, hinge at the hip, touch the cone, come out. So this is sort of the first level. Okay? So one more. So this is the first level, keeping that hip hinge. Now, if you have a glider or any type of towel at home, you could try it. Using this is just showing you the second level that you would get into it, because most of the time we want our hips to be square, and quite often when we do this one, the hips open and there's not a lot of stability involved. So this is the second sort of level, and you can push back. This ensures that your foot is staying pointed straight down to the ground. Because quite often if you point your toe out to the side, your hip's going to follow that direction. So we want the toe to be pointed straight down so that our hip is square. So let's try this here. Okay. So leaning back, reaching down, and when you reach down, you don't have to have a pylon, cone, whatever height object you can find. What we don't want to see is sort of a collapse of the upper body. We want the upper body to stay strong, the spine stay nice and long, because the movement's coming from the hip. So we're going to lean back and touch. So once this is pretty comfortable, we're going to get into the actual movement. So when you reach, you want to reach too far forward, you want the cone fairly underneath your shoulder. So you're going to hinge back. You can have this knee here, can be bent, okay? And you're going to reach back, keeping that back nice and straight, point your toe down, and touching. Now, quite often what I do see, as I was saying before, is this. Okay? And with that, I'll move back into the camera a little bit better. With that, one way to combat that is the airplane. And you don't have to use this one for the airplane. But basically what it is taking one leg back, okay? And then rotating the hip to the side, and then rotating the hip back down. So when you and you can hang on to something if you need to this. When you take your hip up and down, your hip realizes that it actually wasn't square before, and now it is completely square to the ground. Or another way that you can remember this is if you have headlights on your hips, that you don't want to be blinding the person next to you, you want to be shining on the ground. Okay? So other option is to come back, okay? And then you want to keep that upper body nice and long. So we're going to work on 8 on each side. And then we'll do that at least twice, just to kind of get the hang of it here. You don't have to use a band, but if you're not using a band, remember that you're pushing out so that you're staying long from your hand all the way, because we don't want anything kind of bunched up. We want it nice and long, okay? And your stance leg, you can bend. You don't want it hyperextended. You want a little bit of a bend, but sometimes people put a little bit more bend in than others. So as far as shoes go, so with this, if you have runners that kind of keep your foot in a neutral position, that's great. If you have runners that put your foot in either your inverted state, that you kind of have to work to get your foot back to neutral state, you can always do this without shoes on the ground, making the muscles in your foot become stronger while working on this as well. So that's another option. Especially if your foot is in this type of position, you want the foot to be flat when we start. So coming up here, again into that band, and I'm going to grab it with my opposite hand so that I can reach down with this hand, okay? And hinging from the hips, keeping my body nice and straight, I'm going to come down, I'm going to touch, I'll move this up a little bit here, okay, one more time, come down, touch, come back up, so that's 2, we're going to do 8 each side, 3, 4, whoops, I need to lose balance too. So 5, notice my hips are square, 2 more, 6, actually 3 more, 2 more after this one. Okay, keep that body nice and long, reach down, toes straight down, come back up, keep the upper body contracted, touch, and then come down. Okay, so we'll switch to the other side now. We'll put this up here. Okay, and we'll put this around. So this one goes around the ball of your foot, and then just over your shoulder. Okay, and I always use the opposite hand to grab. Okay, that band. So you don't want it to fly out anywhere to fly off. Okay, or hit yourself anywhere in the body. So here, from here, hinging from the hips again, and you will notice that you have one side that's always a little bit stronger than the other, okay? Or a little bit more stable. So this works on dynamic balance, which is actually very challenging. And you really want to learn how to stabilize single leg work. But when's the last time you did single leg work? So you always want to make sure you have that in. So when you're hinging, touching, coming back down. Now you don't have to hinge to where you're parallel, you only want to hinge to where you can keep that back straight. So if you're coming down here, in order to touch when your back is rounding, then you don't have to. So you could be up here in a higher object, keeping that back straight, and that would work. So I think we'll probably about 4, 5, 6, 7, let me move this up just a little bit, 1 more, and 8. Okay, so let's do a couple more on each side, because this takes some time to get used to. And if you need to, if you're finding that, hey, this isn't perfect, I'm having some trouble, use one of those techniques that will help you. So if you're just starting out, and you just are starting with the glide or without touching, coming back up. So start with whichever level is best for you, and then work your way up to the full level. And sometimes, quite often, when people do their hip turn up, is stop here, rotate down so that the hip comes down. Okay, that's the biggest thing that I see, is the hip, so we want to keep them even, because if one hip here, one hip is higher than the other, we want them to be nice and level. Okay, so 8 more on this side, 8 more on the other side, and then we'll move on. Okay, so again, you don't want to be stretching out too far, you want the cone or whatever up that you have nice and close. So, stance leg, bending if you need to, 1, coming up, 2 to temple, down for 2, up for 2, okay? 3, we'll move this out of the way, or over here a little bit more, okay. 4, 5, 6, 7, one more, 8. And notice when you first start out that this leg will be shaky, it'll move from side to side. And that'll grow stronger as you practice. Okay, so let's do the other side. We'll put this over here so you can see the back of my foot. All right. So 8 more on this side. So remember, whatever foot is back, that hand is going to go down. Okay? So here we go. So touching, keeping the body nice and straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Excellent, good. Okay, so now we're going to come back and we're going to do lumbar lock rotation extension. So this is to do with the torso, opening it up. Okay, so I'll move this up here. So you're going to come down and you're going to sit on your knees, okay? And then sit back on your heels, all right? So then you're going to put your left elbow by your left knee. You're going to take your right hand and you're going to put it behind you. Okay, and this is going to be your starting position. You want to sit back on those heels. All right, and what you're going to do while keeping your hips down by your glutes, by your heels, you're going to rotate the upper torso. Okay, you're going to look up in the sky and you're going to hold it here for about 5 seconds or 2 deep breaths. Okay, and a deep breath is about it's breathe in and out. One more, in and out. Okay, then come back down. We're going to look up again. Counting to 5 or 2 deep breaths, either or. Looking up, sitting back on those heels. Coming back down, we're going to do 3 more. So looking up. Deep breathing, sitting on your heels, keeping that hand behind your back if you can. If you don't have the flexibility, you can always put that hand back, or you can put it up by your ear, whichever is most important. 2 more, or most comfortable for you, rather. And then 1 more. So looking up. So here we want the torso to rotate, and we don't want to take the entire hips with it. We want to keep the hips square. All right, so let's do this to the other side. So I'm going to turn around, okay? And I'm going to come back down. I'm going to sit on my heels. Okay, I'm going to put my right elbow against my right knee, my left hand behind my body, starting squared off, looking up, and you may notice here again that you're able to go further on one side. So flexibility is joint specific, so you can have greater flexibility, come back down, in your left hip, but your right shoulder could be more flexible. So deep breathing, coming back down, looking up, deep breath, counting to 5, still sitting on your heels, keeping your hips square. 2 more. Looking up, coming back down, 1 more, looking up. So 5 on each side we did. All right, excellent. Okay, so now moving on. So this next one here, I'm going to move them out of the way, is only if you can't touch your toes. So if you can kind of touch your toes or whatever, that's great. You can still get some benefit from it. If you can have your hands flat on the ground, it may or may not provide benefit. Okay? But this one, we've had lots and lots of people start up here, and after the program, they're touching the ground. All right? So with this, you're going to need a box, okay? So you can even use the stairs in your house. You know, as long as you have something that you can put your weight onto, that's not going to crash. During our first when we were working from home, I actually put in a box and filled it with books and was putting my weight onto there. So there's lots of different ways that you can find. Then you're going to need something for your heels, okay? So here I've got a board, so if you've got a board at home, if you've got big round weight plates, you can put your heels on those. Or even books is what I use. Put your heel, keep the books the same. If you've got a big book, you can use one, but keep your heels, you're using both of them, but keep the books the same height, so that one foot's not greater than the other. And then you're also going to need a foam block, many of you yoga might already have this, or a towel that you're going to wrap around, and you're going to put in between your knees. Okay, so the trick for this one to work is actually having that item in between your knees. Okay, so because what it does is it contracts these muscles and allows the other muscles to relax while you're allowed to get reaching further down. Okay, there's going to be 3 foot positions that we do. Okay, the first one is you're going to have your heels up. Okay, you're going to put the block or whatever towel in between your knees and you're going to squeeze. Okay, we want to activate. So you want to make sure that you're not going to flip the board or the books or whatever you've got on. Okay, so inhale, you're going to reach all the way up. On the exhale, hinging from the hips again. Okay, you can keep a little bit of a bend in the knees, but we don't want a full bend because that's going to be ineffective. Okay, and you want to put your hands onto the block or the box, whatever you have. So you might have to play around with the height. Okay. Or else you can either bend your elbows. And what you're going to do is you're going to shift your weight forward and you're going to push whatever you have your hands on, try to push it through the floor. Okay? With your back nice and, back of your legs as straight as you can. Okay, then you're going to come back. We're going to do this 5 times each foot position. So inhale, reach up. Exhale, coming down, pushing your hands through, shifting your weight forward, keeping your legs nice and straight. Coming back, so we're only holding for, 3 seconds. Inhale, this is number 3. Shift the weight down, and you want your hands to come straight down. You want your hands to be up over here. Squeeze the legs together. Keep the knees fairly straight. Shift your weight forward. You should feel it somewhere back in here. Okay, let's do one more. Inhale. Come over. Shift your weight forward. And then come back. So that was your easiest one. Okay, so the next one is going to be just a little bit harder. Alright, so we're going to have our feet flat on the ground. So inhale, reach up. Exhale, okay, working with the breathing. Shift your weight forward, push the box through the floor, and then come back. Alright, inhale, and then exhale. Now you can tense your fingers if you need to. If your wrist issues, you could always fold your palms if you need to. But just shifting forward, keeping the back nice and straight, or as straight as you can, keeping the legs straight. Alright, that's 2. So 3. So I could definitely go a little bit lower if I wanted to because I'm feeling it, but I could easily feel a little bit more. I could easily push down a little bit lower. But for the purposes today, showing you this way. Okay, 2 more. Or else I could even bend my elbows a little bit more and push to make it a little bit more challenging for myself. 1 more. And again, if you have stairs, you can do 1 stair, 2 stairs, make it a little bit more, or add a modification for you. Alright, so now comes the most challenging. You're going to put the board right up against the box or whatever you have, or the weight plates, whatever your book, whatever you're putting your feet on. With this, you want to be careful that this doesn't flip. Okay? You really want to be careful where you put your feet on so that it is secure to the ground. Squeezing the towel or the block, and this is the most challenging one. So inhale, reach both hands up, shift your weight forward. Ooh, I can feel this one. Lean forward, keep those legs nice and straight. with a slight bend. You don't want anything locked up, okay? So inhale, exhale, hinge forward. I can really feel this one. Coming back. 3 more. Reach up. Arms down. Shift your weight forward. Shift your shoulders forward. Push down. Squeeze the knees. A lot of different cues, but once you get it, it's quite easy. So shifting forward, really feeling, I've got tight calves, so I'm really feeling it in here. And then 1 more. So coming here, shifting the weight, and last one. All right, excellent. So put some of this equipment away quickly here. So if you continue with this one, and you're consistent with it, you will notice a lot of difference. Okay, so the next one is the world's greatest stretch. So we're going to go through it, and then we'll do a few all together. So with this one, okay, you're going to start with 1 leg forward, 1 leg back in a lunge position. Okay, so, and your hands are going to be on the inside. I'll show it to the side as well. The leg that is forward. So let's say your right leg will be forward. Okay? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, if my right foot's forward, my right elbow is forward, I'm going to put it down to my instep, and I'm going to grab my arm here. Okay? Now I can stay with my knee on the ground, or I can lift my knee off the ground. And I'm going to hold for 5 seconds here. So knee on or off the ground, your choice. And then once you've had it for 5 seconds, I'm going to take whatever foot's forward, the hand that's forward, and I'm going to lift that arm straight up in the air. Okay, my knee can be on the ground or it can be off the ground. And I'm going to hold for 5 seconds. Then I'm going to bring that arm down to the other side of my front leg. All right? I'm going to shift my weight back. And I'm going to put my back heel on the ground, and I'm going to bring my front toe off the ground. I'm going to try and straighten both my legs. Now, if this doesn't work or you're unable to get into that position, you can bring your back knee down and straighten out your front leg. So that's a modification if this is not comfortable for you. Okay? And we're going to hold this for 5 seconds, and you're working on trying to straighten both your legs. Then you're going to put your weight back onto your right foot, the front foot. I always take a couple of steps in. You're going to come up into a lunge position. Okay? So you want your knees straight down. We don't want the lunge position to be forward. We want it to be up and down. Okay? So we're going to hold for 5 seconds here. Your knee doesn't have to be right on the ground. It can be up high, but basically you want it to get as close to the ground as you can so that your thighs are parallel. Okay? So holding it here. Then we're going to rotate in towards the knee. And we're going to hold for 5 seconds. All right, excellent. So let's do 1 more on the other side now. Facing forward, and then I'll do 1 facing the side, and then we'll go through 2 together on each side. Okay, so other leg now. So you can start with that back knee on the ground. So elbow in to the instep, reaching down. We're going to hold for 5 seconds. Then we're going to take that front arm up, trying to get our shoulders in line. Now keep this foot on the ground. Don't let this foot come up. Okay, then you're going to bring your hand down to the other side of your front foot. You're going to shift your weight back, pressing that back heel on the ground, straightening both your legs as much as you can without hyperextending, or bringing that back knee down, leaning forward. Okay, whichever is most comfortable. Now the other thing that I see is everyone lifts their hands off the ground. Keep your hands on the ground. Only straighten as much as you can while your hands are still on the ground. Then place the front foot on the ground. Bring that back foot in a little bit. Come up to a front lunge. Okay, holding for 5 seconds. And then we're rotating to the side, to the front knee, holding for 5 seconds. Excellent. Okay. So now we'll do it sideways. I'll do it this way. So we'll start with the other foot again. 1 more learning one, and then we'll get into I'll go back here a little bit here. Into 2 each side. Okay, so you can start with your back knee on the ground. Lunge position. You want your elbow by your instep. You also want your front knee and ankle to be fairly in line, okay? So let's go into here. This way I'll do it with my knee back, or bring that leg up, hold for 5 seconds. Okay, I'll switch it around to do it this way so you guys can see me turning. Okay. Then you're going to bring your left arm straight up in the air. Okay? Choice to keep that back knee off the ground. Hold for 5 seconds. Bring that arm down. Shift your weight back. Okay. Or again, come down to the knee. Straighten, whichever works best for you. Then coming up into the lunge. Holding for 5 seconds. Okay. Just to get things up here. There we go. And then rotate. Holding for 5 seconds. So let's go to the other side here. And we'll do it one more. Okay, so here we go. Okay. So instep. You can keep your knee on the ground if that feels better for you. I'm going to show you what it looks like with my knee on the ground this time. Again, this foot is not off the ground. It's solid. Bring my foot down. Shift your way back. Grab that toe. Or shift it with your legs fairly straight. Keeping your hands on the ground. Alright, coming up. Holding for 5 seconds. And then rotating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent. Shake it out. Okay. We're going to do 1 or 2 each side. More. All right. So I'm going to do 1 more forward and 1 to the side. Okay, so here we go. Starting with 1 foot forward. Getting down to the ground. Now, if you can't get down to the ground, you can always build, with that yoga block I had, you can always put your hand on a yoga block as well. Okay, so there's many different modifications or ways that you can do this stretch. So from here, instep, elbow to the instep, holding for 5 seconds, still breathing. Take that arm up. For 5 seconds, we'll make it a little bit smoother this time. Back. Coming forward, arms up, shoulders down and back. Rotate towards the knee. 4, 5. Okay, other side. Coming back down. Instep. Hold for 5 seconds. Bring that arm up. 5 seconds, bring it down. 2, 3. Shift down. 1, 3, 4, 5. Excellent. Okay, 1 more time on each side. All right. So I'll start this way, make sure I can get my entire body in the picture here. Okay. Coming down. Starting up, lifting back for 5 seconds, coming up into that lunge, rotating, perfect. All right, other side, last one. Okay, first position, instep. Bring that arm straight up. Come back down. Shift. 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Perfect. All right. World's biggest stretch. All right, now we're going to move into the band box walk. So here, you're going to need two bands if you have them. So, you want to make sure again that they don't have any rips, tears, and if you're using the one to tie, make sure that they're tight. You know, put a little bit of pressure on it so that you know if that's going to come undone. So, with the little bit heavier one, I'm going to put this around my knees, or above my knees. You don't want it on your knee joint. So put it through, and I'm going to put it just on top of my knees there. And then the one that's a little bit lighter, just slightly lighter, I'm going to put it around my ankles. Okay, so ideally, with the band box walk, you would walk 10 steps forward, 10 steps to the side, 10 steps back, 10 steps to the other side. So, because we're kind of, you know, lack of space or not a lot of room, we're going to modify it, and I'm only going to do 5 steps in each direction, and we'll do that about 4 times. Okay? So, you will kind of want your legs to be at least shoulder width apart. All right? Semi-squat position. With the band, you're going to want to pull your knees in. You want to pull your knees apart. Okay? So when you're stepping forward, you're going to take a step. You're going to do a little bit of a pause. Step, pause. Step, pause. Okay, and you don't stop in the middle. You do a full step. Okay, I'll do one more. Excellent. Now we're going to turn to the side. Okay, now the side is really important. So I want both of your feet to be pointing forward when we do the side. Okay, I don't want one to be here, one to be over here, one to be straight one. I want both of your hips in line for this one. Okay, and you're going to bring your knees apart. You're going to be in that semi-squat. The more comfortable you get with it, the further. And as you get more comfortable, you won't have to sit and stare at your legs out of it. All right, so from here, okay, you're going to take a nice, great big, wide step. Almost together, and almost together is your pause. Great big wide step. You want wide range of motion. You don't want your band so tight that you can barely take a step. Almost together. Nice wide. Both feet facing forward. Almost together. Wide. Almost together. Knees don't come in. Wide. Almost together. So just showing you what that looks like this way. Wide. Almost together. All right. Then we're going to do backwards. So, from here, you're back, you're going to go straight back. And with the back, you do not have to walk, you don't have to put your legs on a single straight line. You're going to take them back when they're shoulder width apart. Okay? Now, you're not going to feel the front and back ones as much as you might feel the side ones. Okay, whew. That's too close to the camera. Okay, so from here, we're going to move to the side. Almost together. Side, almost together. Side, almost together. Side, perfect. So we want to keep tension on the bands the whole time. We don't want to bring them together and allow the bands to lose that tension. We want to keep the tension on the bands. Okay? One more. So that was one. Okay? So let's do some more here. So, what we don't want with this one is the knees to come in, the feet to be all over the place, and we don't want a huge lean forward, okay? Contract the core, engage the glutes, take that step as wide as you can. I like to hold my hands up here, but they don't have to be here. Got a little bit of a pause. Okay, then going to the side. So side, here's where it's super important with the knees. Don't let the knees cave in. And when the knees cave in, it kind of looks like that. You really want to push the band out. 3, 4, 5. Okay, backwards, here we go. 1, 2, 4, 5. So when we go back, we don't want to stop in the middle. And then kind of take, because you won't be able to get nice wide steps that way. Okay, the other way. Here we go. Excellent. Toes pointing forward. All right, let's do it again. We're getting really good at this. All right, step forward. So see how I'm not doing a single line, because that's your base of support is not going to be very stable. You can take your, and walking forward and back, your feet don't have to be perfectly straight, but we're trying to keep them so we're not duck walking forward, okay? Here we go. 3, 4, 5. All right, backwards, here we go. And then to the side. All right, we're going to do one more, and this will make up for 2 box walk. Now you can switch it so that after each one, you go the other way first. So I'm going to go this way first this time. I'm going to change it up just a little bit. 4, 5. Okay, backwards, here we go. All the way back. I'm just doing 5 steps at a time, just because I don't have a lot of room. But if you have that room, you can do all 10. When the weather is nice, you just go outside and do it, but there's a lot of snow on the ground right now, or it's a little bit chilly. A little bit of snow. All right. Okay. Excellent. So, now, for the next one, you're going to need a band. So, I'm going to put my lighter band around my knees for this one. This is the sumo squat to stand. So I'm going to put one just around my knees. I'm going to come back and I'm going to get that platform. And I'm going to show you with and without what this is going to look like. And I'm also going to grab that big band. So this doesn't have to be a band, this can be anything that you kind of pull apart. So what the heel raise is for is if you lack a little bit of ankle mobility or there's tightness elsewhere, it's going to help you to be able to go into a little bit of a deeper squat, okay, without sacrificing your form. So sumo squat to stand. So you're going to have that band. And what this band is going to do is make you push your knees out. All right? So feet nice and wide. Wide and shoulders apart. You're going to hold the band in your arms. I'm going to shoulders forward and to the side, okay? So reach down, touch your toes, okay? Then you're going to straighten your legs as much as you can. Then you're going to come down to a low squat. So I don't mean just sink down, I mean a low squat. Elbows inside, okay? Your knees. Then you're going to bring your hands up, you're going to pull apart, you're going to bring your chest up, and you're going to hold for 5 seconds before coming up. So what this looks like here is with your heels on the board, okay, or on a book, or whatever you have around the house. You might find that your form is perfect with your feet on the ground. You don't need this, but you might find, hey, this kind of helps me a little bit. So, touch your toes, straighten your legs, come down to, oops, if you look to the low squat position. Okay, don't just sink and allow yourself to drop. Bring your arms up, pull apart, hold for 5 seconds, and then stand. Okay, so we're going to demonstrate this now from the side. Okay, so I'll do it without and then I'll do it with. Alright? So feet, and you know what, with this one, your feet can be out to the side. You know, that may be your more natural motion movement than your feet just out here. So it's whatever feels comfortable for your body. We're not all made the same. We're designed a little bit differently. So, and if you're super flexible, you may be able to do it with both toes forward. You want to make sure though that you don't have one forward, one to the side. You want to kind of keep them as even as possible. So reaching down, straightening, coming down to the low squat with your elbows. Okay, on the inside, bringing that up, holding for 5 seconds, and then standing. Okay, let's do it here just to show you what it looks like from the side. If you're, and you know what, you can start with your heels raised and you can move on. You know, once you get that range of motion or even that strength up in your hip flexors, you may be able to go right to the ground. So from here, straighten, come all the way down, reach up, pull apart, and stand. All right, let's do a few more. Okay. So, reach down. You always want to make sure you remember to straighten, that's important. Then come back down, bring the arms up, push the knees apart, and stand. We're going to do one more with my heels closed. Okay. Here we go. So starting, down in my hands, reach down, touch my toes, straighten my legs, come down, low squat position, keeping my core steady, not just sort of sinking down. You want your core to be engaged. You want to pull apart, hold for 5 seconds, and then stand. Excellent. Okay. All right, one more to go. And this is going to be hip mobility. So put the hands to the side. Same with the board. Okay, so the next exercise is a hip mobility drill, actually, rather than the last exercise. So you're going to find limbs at right angles. So your hip, knee, and ankle are all going to be at right angles, okay? So 99 switch, some of you may have done this before. So the goal is to not use your hands, but you may have to. So the first level, and if you need to use your hands, that's fine, is to bring both your knees up and switch them to the other side. So you can have your hands not involved as well, and you're just going to go from side to side. I'm going to show you a couple of different levels in a minute, but from here, we want to do 5 on each side. Okay, so another level here is when you come to one side to come up and add a hip extension. All right, full hip extension, not just kind of halfway, full. Drop down, come to the other side, full hip extension here. So this is your second level. And as you're learning this, you might need one hand to push yourself up, but eventually you want to get it so that you are able to do it without using your hands. Keeping that core nice and stable, reaching those hips up. Or extending them fully. We'll do a couple more, then we're going to add up. Okay, so now, once you've got the hip extension, we're going to add on. So we're going to come up, and we're going to take a step to a lunge, and then we're going to bring that leg back. We're going to do a 90-90 hip, come up, full extension, lean forward, come back down. We're going to make sure I'm not here. All right, so let's do that. So we're here, full extension, reach that leg forward into that lunge, come back down, switch to the other side, come up, reach forward, lean forward. Bring the feet back down. So you want to do 5 each side. Come back down. Okay, so whatever level you've decided you're working at. Couple more. A nice, just smooth transition process.